Alright, so trying to get a video going here on literature reviews, which I don't think I've done yet. Student A, my comment is, for some reason this one came in Helvetica or something like that. Keep it in Times New Roman, and it's a matter of paying attention to detail and also paying attention to what's requested of you. If you're doing a brief for a court, if you're doing professional work in a company or something, they're not always allowed to go off in freestyle. So details like that you need to pay attention to. It's a big part of writing. There are redundancies in here. Now, the truth is there are redundancies everywhere. I look at stuff I wrote last year, I find redundancies in it. The examples in here were performs a survey. Could just say surveys the group. Begin with a restatement of. Could just be restate. Look out for those. And again, it takes 2 passes. You have to edit twice. You go through the first time, catch the small stuff, then go back and look for redundancies. It's the only way to get it right. Footnotes always belong on the right side of punctuation. That's another mistake in here. I had another redundancy. I just saw, what was it? So there's something here that says outlined by, this thing outlined by Anderson deals with what he calls. Deals with what he calls. How about just concerns? Again, fewer words can get the job done. Get rid of those redundant words. And footnotes to the right side of punctuation. I cannot emphasize that enough. Smart people will look at things that you write. When you have your footnotes on the left side of punctuation, they're going to conclude that you don't know how to pay attention, and they're going to discount what you have to say. It's not good. With regards to paper B, we have a wall of text situation. That's when paragraphs go on and on and on and on and on. Even if you're legally making a paragraph that is in fact within the bounds, within the rules of what's permitted, it's still inhumane to the reader to go on like that, particularly in a short paper like this. Break it up. It gives the eye a chance to rest. People expect to see paragraphs in their reading. Also, outside of this class, I've been specific about you needing sections and subsections. I find when I don't give students direction on that stuff, they tend to not use sections and subsections as much as they should. Again, it's humane to the reader. It helps them keep on track. It helps them understand where they are and what you're writing about. It gives a lot of clues. So make not overly liberal use, but liberal use of sections and subsections in your writing, and you'll see your approval ratings going up. Paper C. Paper C I was pleased with. Student improved a lot of things in here. What do I got? With respect to citations, one problem with this paper is it's low on citations. I feel that citations sometimes are a thing that come into people's minds and they pay attention to them, then they get distracted by doing other important work and they drift away from citing enough. Citation has always got to be in your mind, every sentence, every paragraph. What you have in here are essentially like almost veins of citations through the writing, and then they're absent for whole paragraphs, and then they come back later on. A citation here, a citation there. Be consistent with them. Be citing things. Beyond that, I'm looking in these videos on the different sections of the paper to make general comments that will help students. I mean, I've made specific comments in all of these. It's helped the specific students, but these are more general comments that are supposed to go to helping everyone. I've got a comment in here to make, and I have no idea what I meant by it. So I'm just going to move on. Time. The next paper, what we need to get clear on there are a bunch of pairs of words that people mix up a lot. That and which, these and those, this and that. Particularly with these and those and this and that. relative in time, relative in space. I've talked about this before, but people are consistently getting it wrong. All right, so if I've talked about something already in the article and I'm referring back to it, it is that thing or those things, or if it's more than one thing, those things or that thing I already mentioned, as opposed to if I'm about to tell you about something, this thing I'm going to tell you about. These things that I haven't told you about yet, but I'm about to matter. That in which is slightly different. You need to look at Gardner. It's Quick Editorial Guide number 90. I think it's like page 900 to 903. I type it so much. Most of the time, you want to use that, and that goes to something that's important to the sentence. If it's something that's subordinate in the sentence, like a parenthetical phrase, comma which. One of the biggest mistakes people make in general writing, so if you can correct that in your own writing, you're going to be ahead of the crowd. There's also a general tendency to overuse quotation marks. If you're quoting somebody, yes, use quotation marks. If you're using a word and it has a meaning that somebody else is using that you don't agree with, you know, like to say, it was an honor killing. We don't think those killings are honorable in this society, but you know, we use the term to describe it and we put it in quotes to indicate our distaste for it more than anything. Mostly when you're introducing specific terms, you want to set them off from the rest of the text and highlight them. You want them in italics. We very much more favor italics now over quotation marks. M dashes. M dashes are great things. Look them up in Gardner under punctuation. That's in the 758 page range. To do them on at least Word, MS Word, you want to put in an M dash. It's a longer dash, longer than a dash actually. It's a long double dash almost, and that's how you do it. You type the word before the M dash without any spaces. You put in two dashes, and then without any spaces, you put in the next word. When you space off the next word, those two dashes join up and become one long dash, and it's useful in your writing in place of commas and parentheticals, or at the end of sentences for something that's an addendum. Look it up in Gardner though, learn about them if you're not using them. They're very useful devices. Shifting tenses. When we talk about, if you're describing something in an article, you're generally going to do it in the present tense, right? Because the results haven't changed, right? So Miller's results are the following in the present tense, right? But if you're talking about a method that was used, a survey that was given, you can switch to the past tense there. Keep that in mind. It's if you talk about methodology in the present tense, it sounds odd to the reader. On to F. Student F. Keep in mind that a case and an opinion in court are two different things. The case that's being worked on might be what they're what's in front of the court right now is the case. Once the case is finished and it becomes an opinion of an appellate court, we talk about an opinion. So I wouldn't talk about the case of Brown v. Board of Education. I would talk about Brown v. Board of Education, the opinion. Keep in mind there are other things like that where there are shades of difference and people often get them wrong. I don't know if I mentioned these ones, like founders versus framers. The founders of this country were people who spilled blood in the Revolutionary War, who put their treasure at risk. Framers were people who were in Philadelphia in 1889 or whatever and actually wrote the Constitution. Some founders were framers, but not all framers were founders. And also keep in mind that those are capitalized always, the F in framer and founder, but be specific when you're using them. Another one I see people get wrong, I haven't seen it this year, but I see it at times, is civil liberties versus civil rights. Civil rights are the rights you get from the Bill of Rights, timer, and the Bill of Rights, you know, if you're being discriminated against based on race, or, you know, some other category like gender or whatever, sexual preference, those are your civil liberties that are being infringed upon, your right to vote and so on. So keep in mind that those are two different things. Also, people should get in the habit always of footnoting things properly. If you mention something from the Constitution, give the footnote with the article and the section. If you're using a law, give the footnote to the United States Code or whatever it is, a state law. Get it right. If you're using regulations, Federal Code of Regulations, right? CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, or in Massachusetts, CMR, Mass Code of Regulations. Give the footnote to the citation. It makes your writing look tremendously more authoritative. get in the habit of doing it. And I'm a big believer it's important to have your writing look good. It's more important that it is good, but you can do a lot of things to dress it up and make it look important and relevant and well done. Readers pick up on that stuff either consciously or unconsciously. So I'm a big fan of that. G. Keep in mind, in the social sciences, nothing is ever proven or discovered. We discover continents, we discover new species. We don't discover much in social science, and we certainly never really prove anything. We just contribute evidence towards stuff. Capitalization, I haven't had to talk about it much, but there are a few things here that come up. If you talk about a presidential administration, if you're a specific administration like the Clinton administration or the Bush administration gets capitalized. If you're talking about the Constitution, that gets capitalized. If you're talking about the court, meaning the Supreme Court, that gets capitalized. There are just some capitalization mistakes that are getting made out there. I think it's mostly sloppy. Also, keep in mind another sloppy mistake. You've got to italicize the names of journals. I keep on emphasizing that, but also things like newspapers, magazines, and so on. Time Magazine, in italics. The New York Times, in italics. When you're using the name of a journal or a newspaper or a magazine, a book, anything like that, right, gets italicized. Chapters go in quotes. Chapter, if you're talking about the name of a chapter, right? Student H, the last one I have here. Here's my comment on this one. So use of slashes, also called virgules. When I say also, I mean never, but that's what Gardner calls them if you go to the punctuation section. We're generally sliding away from using slashes as much as possible. So anything you do to avoid them, avoid them. This is just the common habit now. So there's like the idea of saying and or in a journal article like what we're writing, don't do it. Stay away from it. I have a few more videos coming up shortly. Thanks.